I thought that it would have been very interesting to, instead of making Millie an insecure girl, make her a vengeful girl. I think that she should have been like the bloodthirsty one. And I know that you're thinking that this is way off from the original premise, and you're right, but just hear me out, okay? And what she's going to be learning is she's going to be learning at the end of the movie empathy for others, and specifically from the place of realizing that people aren't the way they are because they're inherently evil. They're that way because of the circumstances that they grew up around. Millie is going to try to take vengeance on many people throughout this movie. The first person she's going to take vengeance on, or try to anyway, is going to be her father, played by Vince Vaughn. Now, her father is not dead in mine. He left years earlier and hasn't been heard of since, until recently. There's a viral video going around her school of two hobos fighting in their local town, and one of them is going to end up being someone that she recognizes from an old photo album. She's going to go home, look at it, compare, and realize that this person is indeed her dad. Now, we're going to get the usual start in Act 1. She's going to wake up. We're going to cut out the first scene where they're stabbing and slaughtering. We're going to get Millie waking up. She's going to go downstairs, and her mom's actually going to be kind of mean to her. Her sister's still going to be nice to her, and we're going to get the dynamic of the mom hasn't really taken it well since the father left, and it's been a few years now, and she's still kind of obsessed with him to a point that is pretty unhealthy. And the sister is coping with the father leaving, but it's pretty clear that she drowned herself in her work. Then we're gonna get Millie going to school. She still has her friends, but she's still gonna get bullied at school by the girl. However, this girl is not going to be like a generic mean girl. I think that we should have more of like kind of like a jock girl. I think that would be cool, like a basketball player or something. Still pretty, of course. She doesn't need to be butch, but make her like a pretty jock who plays basketball or something. I thought that would have been interesting and kind of like switch the trope a little bit, because normally whenever it's a guy nerd that gets made fun of, it's a jock, and whenever it's a girl, it's like a mean girl. Kind of reverse that. I think that would be pretty cool. She's going to get made fun of at homecoming. She's then going to go home, and she's going to be on the internet, and she's going to see this viral video going around of these two hobos, and she's going to recognize one of them, as I said earlier, and she's going to put the pieces together that this is her long-lost father from a photo album that she has. She's then going to make the decision to hunt him down and start taking vengeance on all those that wronged her, starting with him because he's the origination of her pain. And she's going to look through like an old antique box. We could have her go antique shopping earlier, maybe, because that's something she likes. And maybe it's like a mystery box of junk, and the mystical knife is inside of there, and she takes it. She goes to the train tracks where she found the video was taken. She then finds her father, Vince Vaughn, and she says, "Hey, are you so-and-so?" She would say her father's name. I haven't thought of one yet. And he would then say yes. She would then try to attack him. Now, Millie's going to get the upper hand in the beginning of this like little squabble, and she's going to be able to get like a stab in, which solidifies the switch that's going to happen later. However, he's going to be able to like fight her off, not even really totally sure who she is. And he's going to run away, and she's going to drop the knife and run away as well. And they're both going to go to their respective homes, and she's going to have the wound as well, and they're both going to go to sleep after she dresses it, and then we're going to head into Act 2, and they're going to wake up, and their bodies are going to be switched. Now, this act is very similar to the original movie. However, we're going to have the dad be an actual like person. He's not going to be like a psychopath. He's just a regular person that fell on hard times, and he's like shocked when he wakes up that he's in his old home. Like, he's going to see the wife, and he's going to see his daughter, and he's just going to be so stunned by all of this, and we're really going to see his reactions to that. We're also going to have Millie waking up in the other body in the shed, and she's going to wake up, look around, and be scared and stuff. She's going to go outside, find the knife, grab it, and she's going to start like heading to the school. Both of them go to school trying to figure out what's going on. You know, maybe Millie gets bullied like earlier, stuff like that. And then we're going to have Vince Vaughn going to the school as well. They will eventually meet up, and they're going to originally decide, like, okay, let's let bygones be bygones. I know you tried to stab me, but we got to figure this out. We got to figure out what's going on. And at this point, whenever they meet, they split up. Millie, they both end up finding her friends, and they explain the situation. And what they do to convince them is they say, hey, hold this knife. And they're like, well, okay, cool. Now then, I want you to come at me with it. And they're like, wait, what are you talking about? Come at me with it. What are you talking about? Maybe like they taunt them a little bit until finally like Josh, the flamboyant one, is finally like, okay, fine. And he gets mad and he goes at it. And then like the scenery changes and it's like Aztec, like in the movie. And then he like freaks out and he's like, whoa. And then it's like, okay, that convinces him. That the spirit world was kind of opened at that point. And then Nyla is convinced as well. The dad in the wrong body is going to go with the friends because they blend in better, and they're going to go to the Spanish teacher and try to figure out what this means and what is transcribed on it. However, the other person, Vince Vaughn's job with Millie in the body, of course, his job is just to lay low. However, he runs into his school bully, like the jock girl, and he's hearing and he's just hearing her crying, and he walks up to her and he's like, hey, or she rather, Millie, and she says, hey, like, what's going on? And she's like, well, what's it to you? And she's like, I'm the new school counselor, just say something like that. So she has an excuse to open up a little bit, but then she starts really like complaining hard about Millie. And it's pretty prevalent that Millie has like mental issues throughout the movie, even in the beginning, like anger issues, I think, to really set up this being believable. He then, of course, after hearing her originally being like sympathetic, gets angry at what he hears because she's making fun of him, of course. He then grabs her, throws her in the freezer, turns her up, and leaves her for dead. They then end up meeting up later, the friends, Millie and the dad, and they're like, okay, cool. Are we ready to like do the body switch? Like, we figured out what happened. We know the rules, of course. The rules are that whenever you stab someone at that midnight, your bodies will switch and your souls will switch. Now, keep in mind that the switch is not instantaneous. It happens at that upcoming midnight. However, Millie's like, hey, I have this body. I just got revenge. I can get some more revenge, And she starts saying this, and the dad and the other body and the friends are like, what are you talking about? Wait, what are you talking about? And she grabs the knife, stabs him, and is like, haha, like now we're gonna switch back tonight. And I got some news for you. You better stay out of my way, or else I'm gonna have you wake up tomorrow morning in a jail cell. And then she walks away, and she's about to get vengeance on whoever she wants to get vengeance on, whom we will find out later. And I think that would be interesting. As a reflex, the dad in Millie's body screams because they're meeting in the hallway, and Millie starts running away to go get her vengeance. She gets in the car, and then we get a little car chase of which Millie ends up being able to escape, and this kind of is the start of Act 2. Now, after Millie says these things, she runs away and decides that she's going to try to escape, and she kind of runs outside, grabs someone that's about to get in a car. She chunks him, and she starts driving away, and her friends and the dad, in the opposite body, of course, start chasing her, and she ends up being able to get away from them at the usual place in the regular movie, the discount shopping store. And she hides in a changing room as usual, and this is a series that kind of starts Act 3. Now, the next thing that happens is she meets the mom, but instead, the mom actually recognizes the dad, and they start talking, and the mom kind of starts complaining about Millie a little bit. It's a little bit sweet, too, in the beginning, kind of like the jock scene. It starts off a little sweet, but then she starts getting complained about, and Millie eventually gets asked on the date, and she's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll go on a date with you, like planning to like actually get revenge and take out her mother at this point. And she realizes this is the perfect opportunity. She's still obsessed with my dad. I'm in my dad's body. This is a perfect way to set up this date, and tonight I'm gonna take her out, like literally and metaphorically. And so, in order to get the supplies to do this, she heads to her house to go into her garage to get supplies, and she meets the sister, right? And the sister looks and is like, are you the plumber? Now, keep in mind, she's not going to recognize her dad because it's been like years and years, right? And you wouldn't expect your dad just to pop up, right? And so like in order and she's gonna ask, "Are you the plumber?" Like we can say a line earlier, like, "Oh, the plumber's coming in 2 days," or something like that. You know, that's a fine line, so that way he has an excuse to be there. They get to talking, and the thing is Millie actually likes her sister. She has no interest in hurting her, but she still like hears like her struggle and stuff, and kind of gets a little, you know, a little bit of empathy in this. And then her sister eventually starts driving off to work. She kind of snaps out of it, starts getting the supplies, and eventually she runs back into her friends and her dad. She has to trap them, and she eventually does, and she's like, "Hey, by tomorrow you're gonna be a murderer," or whatever she says, you know. And she sets up the trap. We get like a little like creepy montage of her setting it up for the date that she's gonna have, or maybe the trap that she has after the date. And she goes on the date, and this kind of like starts our act 4. Now, her and her mom are on a date, and it's just like, it's like a solid heart to heart, right? And she's so touched by the things that her mother has gone through over the past few years, the struggles. And the thing about this is that her mother says, "I didn't ask you to go on this date to get back with you. I just need to know, like, why? Why did you leave?" And the thing is that Millie heard earlier from her dad, while their bodies were still switched, of course, why. She got that piece of information, and she tells her mom what his dad told her earlier, and the mom is like, "You know what, I finally have closure with this. I have no interest in getting back with you, but I just thank you for this." And she kind of sees that this really helped her mom, and that her mom is really going to try to be a better person, and she just lets her mom go at that point. She goes back to the place. This is her like decision to like start heading towards her strength, which is being an empathetic person. She then goes back to where she's locked up her friends and her dad. She lets them go. And I think it would be a really like kind of like funny but yet cute thing is like having like a like in the October moonlight. You know, you have Halloween lights, so it could be really pretty with that visual, and just have them kind of have like a father-daughter thing, but in reverse bodies. I thought that would be funny, you know, like have like the girl be on the shoulders or what have you, but of course they're reversed, so it's ironic. I think that would be cool. And have them end up at the shed where she woke up at, and have him being in her body, tucking in like a grown man, and being like, "Hey, you know, I know you're gonna have to spend here tonight and it's gross, but tomorrow morning you're gonna wake up in the right body. Don't you worry about it." And they, of course, wake up in the morning in opposite bodies. Millie walks downstairs. She sees her mom and her sister getting along for once. Like, they were arguing earlier, and now they're cool. Her mom's actually nice and apologizes to her. And then, like, a doorbell rings. And we have to keep in mind, I forgot to tell you this, but in that scene earlier, Millie's mom tells Millie while she was in the opposite body, like, "Hey, you know, if you want to ever work your way back into like our lives, like I have no problem with that. Just because I'm not going to let you back in my individual life and I've moved on doesn't mean our children shouldn't have a father." And she kind of gives, you know, like a little card with some information to call. And at the doorbell, they open the door, and it turns out to be her dad in the proper body. You know, we kind of figure, okay, so he woke up and he found the card, and he looks at it, and he called, of course, and he walks in. The mom introduces them, even because it's funny. It's funny though because they've spent the whole movie together. And the sister is like, "Whoa, the plumber was my dad the whole time? Wait, what? Wait, are you a plumber?" And he kind of has no idea because he was kind of like never told about this. And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's my job. I am a plumber." You know, you get some funny scenes, and I think it ends with like him closing the door behind them. You get a shot of the door, and you pan out, and so you kind of see the whole property. There's like Halloween lights up and stuff, and we see like a sun rising in the background, and we see the lights shut off as the sun is rising. And I think it's a good visual, like, okay, this is a new era for this family. And that completes the review. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and would like other videos like this, please subscribe, and you take care.